it looks like we're good for Friday here?
I haven't been told anything otherwise.
Okay.
So, to that point of whether, our game and all that
Yeah.
for tomorrow at Paulie, I haven't been told anything otherwise, so.
Your home's okay?
Yeah, I guess, I was probably gonna do this tomorrow night, I can do it now, I mean, the people that, have obviously put out the fires, contained the fires. I mean, it's, now that I got home and had some time to watch some stuff, what went on last Friday and Saturday, from an aerial assault and a ground assault to basically save Brentwood, parts of Brentwood, northern Brentwood and Encino are unbelievable. In 24 hours of airdrops, and it's just so. I guess thank you to all the firemen and first responders and for saving Encino, which is obviously my neighborhood, as you know.
How have guys kind of taken stock of themselves and committed to improving what they need to improve since you kind of, were critical 10 days ago or whatever it was? Do you feel like they've done that, and where are they in that process?
I think we're trying. I don't think, I think that here are the facts, that we've struggled in Big Ten basketball. Our 2 wins were against teams we were familiar playing against. I think the truth of it is that Big Ten basketball is different. It's a much more physical game. I also think the league is unbelievably rock solid. Some teams get fortunate, we were not with the schedule. We were not with Dylan Harper, who's an unbelievable player, having some sort of illness where he could hardly stand up in the previous 2 games where he hardly played. And then, being back to full strength against us. I mean, the guy's a tremendous player. That being said, it's just hard. We're struggled with the adjustment to Big Ten basketball.
What can you do to better combat the physicality going forward?
Well, I can't play. I mean, I can't go out and be physical. We've got to be able to defend without fouling. That's been a problem for us. If you can't, fouling is a byproduct, and I can get all, what went on at Maryland, I stand by. But that's part of it. Fouling is a byproduct of not being able to defend. I mean, you got to contain the ball so you don't foul. If you can't contain the ball, you're going to get fouls called on you. Also, some of our fouls aren't very smart. But containing the ball late in the clock is an issue for us in our last game. But generally speaking, to your question, you just got you got to just get back. You got to work on it. You got to work on it. You got to be able to handle the physicality of what's going on.
What about going bigger?
We've tried. I mean, the guy struggled to get a rebound. He couldn't get a rebound on a free throw against number 99. He just, I want to.
Yeah.
Will's had a few good days. Guy's got to keep trying to adjust. You got to be able to rebound. So you got to ask yourself, when you're trying to make adjustments and you're trying to play a certain way or trying to, it's not how big you are. It's how big a guy plays. So when you get, Kobe Johnson's your leading rebounder. So guys got to be effective. We need, we've had that meeting. I've had that meeting with our point guards and with Will and Adai. Like, we need you to be more productive.
Kobe mentioned earlier, part of the struggles defensively have been on the lack of communication. How much more of an emphasis has that been in the last?
It's always an emphasis. It's not. Couldn't possibly be more. I get a lot of faults being able to coach defense. Has never been accused of me. I think at times, these guys get in interviews, they're not really sure what to say at times. And I think what he means by that is our pick and roll coverage. Not necessarily talking as much as being on the same page whether it's the guard not sending the ball to the big, or the big being late at times with that.
Have you seen player leadership develop this year?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Who's making progress?
Thought Sebastian and Kobe yesterday. You know, at some point, guys, you gotta have some players that say enough's enough.
Kobe said Eric was one of those players who was speaking up as well. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
he did. Yeah. Now that you mentioned it yesterday.
Is that about vocal stuff, or is that more about example and practice? What is it?
Well, my message to them at the end was, now you got to back it up. I'm all for it. You know, I'm all for it. I know times are changing, guys, but coached 13 years at Cincinnati. We had a lot of practices where guys had to be separated many times. You know, it's just, you know, there's got to be a standard of what we know. Got to fight through things. It just can't be okay. It can't be okay in the locker room. It can't just be me. It can't be okay. You know, so we'll see. I mean, it's got to be a consistent thing. You know, it's just got to be, if you're going to have a program, and this is the challenge of the portal era. See what I'm saying? Like, this is a challenge for people in the portal era. You know, do you really care, or are you a rental player? In all of college basketball, this is the challenge. Like I said, we got really good kids, but you find out what you're made of in tough times. You really find out, and it isn't all that. Some of it's just X and O stuff. Like, to Ben's point, are you big enough to be able to get to rebound and defend in the Big Ten? You know, can your big guys go get rebounds and defend the rim? You know, can your guards contain the ball? And so the challenge becomes, you got to get it done. So the challenging each other is, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Nobody's saying, you got to be able to do hard things to win. I used to say this, I remember at Cincinnati all the time, I used to say this, people said, win, well, you don't win enough. You don't win enough in the time. Never underestimate winning. We'd all take a win right now. I used to say that all the time, but people didn't understand what I meant. You know, never underestimate winning. It's not easy to win.
Another thing you've talked about, aside from the wins and losses, just your team improving over the season
Always,
constantly.
yeah.
Just how do you feel like that's been going?
Well, I think the schedule's been tough on us. I think the injuries threw us off from a balance standpoint, but I think that our guards, again, like I just mentioned earlier, you know, we've got to get our guards playing, giving us more production off the pick and roll, shot making, solid defense. And I think we need production from willing to die. We've got to, we got to continue to work with those guys and improve those guys.
This guy said you haven't had over 40 deflections in any of those games you lost. Yeah, in any of the games you lost.
It's always always the same. When that happens, the deflections are always in the 20s.
What do you think that's a product of? Why haven't you guys been having as many deflections?
We're fouling. We pressed the whole game at Rutgers. Got 28 deflections.
With the fouling, is that mental focus, not following the scouting report, or is that
fouling is a lack of two things. You're out of position, so you end up fouling.
Right.
Often, the attacking offensive player gets you in a bad spot, and you have to foul him. Or secondly, lack of discipline, because we're going to get a 10 count against Rutgers, and Sebastian just waxed the guy. Now, he's excited. We're trying to make a comeback. He's still only sophomore, but you can't make that play in a crucial moment like that. Okay, Kobe 70 feet from the basket in the first half to get a second foul. So that's why I say you just got to play smarter. Okay, but most of your fouling is out of position. Or you got to be able to. This goes back to what Ben and I were talking about with your question. When I got to being tough enough to play in the Big Ten. You're in a tussle with a guy for a rebound. Like, those are like a guy just grabs the guy. He hooks the guy. The ball hasn't even come off the rim, and you're right there. There's no need to do that. Like, this is the Big Ten. You're getting pushed and banged from here until the end of the season. Every time. You got to be able to deal with it. You got to be able to deal with it and fight for the ball. So, I mean, that's where I say, you know, I think it's a lot that goes into it, but being able to play with your body and not your hands at times. When you get near the rim, this gets called, and you could literally commit assault with your torso. And if you watch the way Bilodeau was defended at Rutgers, and that's just the way it is in the Big Ten.
How's he adjusted to kind of that physicality?
I think he learned learned a lot at Rutgers, you know. But they were locked in on him, and you know his production. I'm more concerned with his defense.
Dylan,
His production's been more consistent than anybody on this team.
did Dylan recover from whatever was bothering him?
I think he's feeling better. Yeah,
You-
he was sick. He just chills, all that stuff.
Yeah. So, obviously the team saw how hard it was to win on the road. Now you got 5 of 7 at home.
Yeah.
How important is it to have a good stretch here, get back on track?
Back to your point, you just got to try to get better, regardless of result. Because I've been in this back in the 11 in my time in the Big East. You're always a week away from a 3-game losing streak. Always. And so you got to be able to handle it with some maturity and focus on the next game. You know, it's more like coaching in the NBA. You know, where just everybody can beat you. So you got to just get to the next game, try to win the next game. You can't even think you're like, what you just told me, I didn't even know. What'd you say?
5 out of 7
Yeah,
at home.
5. I didn't even know.
And the road trips are at SC and at Washington, so
Right.
no big travel.
Yeah, to your point, you know, well, I'm looking forward to that now that you say that. You know, in the last 3 weeks, we've landed twice in Newark to go to New York and Rutgers, and once in D.C. I coach in California. You know, it's 3 times touching down on the East Coast. You know, that's not easy. So, you know, and it's on the kids.
With Tyler's defense, obviously, well, maybe he's not going to provide much rim protection. What do
No,
you
I'm more concerned with his pick and roll defense.
Got it.
You know, our pick and roll defense has struggled. Now, Jacoby Gillespie at home, Dylan Harper's a pro. Gillespie right now is just playing, he's as good a college guard, you know, that you play against. Shoot it, pocket passes, all that stuff. So, you know, part of that's who you're playing. But pick and roll defense is a huge part of college basketball, as you guys know. You watch the games, I mean, it's just a huge part of it. So you gotta, you know, if you're pick and roll defense, and it everybody's got a job in pick, you know, one guy. But in particular, the big, I mean, he's got to be there to stop the ball. He's got to be there to stop the ball. And we struggle with that against Rutgers at times. Too much. Especially when that was all we prepared for.
When you're
Well, we only have 1 day, but we spent the whole day on that.
when you're working on constant improvement and basically telling guys you got to get better at this, this, and this, is there a flip side to that, and that you also have to let them know you're still confident in them and
Oh, yeah.
believe in what they can
Yeah.
do, their potential to be a really good player and
Absolutely.
How do you communicate that?
Well, I tell what did you put in? You didn't put in all this work your whole life and all this time in this modern era of, you know, training year round and all this stuff. I mean, it's to not perform. You know, it's time to perform. I mean, my daughter does theater stuff. I mean, they go months and months, you know, for 3 or 4 shows. You know, why would you do all that stuff and to not perform on opening night? I mean, you know, so that's what I try to tell them. But yeah, you know, confidence, trying to get guys to play with confidence, especially our guards.
Dylan's obviously had some ups and downs this season. What do you think has been the biggest difference from where he was last year to where he is right now?
Tough to say. You know, got hurt this summer, sat out a while, He just hasn't found his rhythm. If I had the answer for that one, I'd fix it quick. Fix it quick. So, you guys got enough?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank